Welcome everyone to this session from Fearless in Training. It's called Connecting with Clients Virtually. And as some of you may have seen in our marketing emails, we crafted this session after reaching out to all of you and just asking, what do you need? I think it's a really trying time for business owners. Some folks are facing overwhelm with too much opportunity because they were already set up to run business online, and other people are just struggling to figure out how to keep things afloat. And so when we asked all of our audience, what could we be doing that would be most helpful for you? This was one of the topics that absolutely rose to the surface. So I worked with my team to create this content, and we're really excited to bring it all to you. Just to get you guys engaged and kind of interacting in the session, we're going to be using the Zoom webinar chat feature. So if you want to chime in and let me know in the chat where you're signing on from today. We already had Adriana say that they're signing on from sunny Charlotte, North Carolina, so welcome. So great to see you. But if anybody else wants to share, we've got Buda, Texas, Austin, Texas, Oklahoma, folks from all over the country, Edmonton, so up in Canada. Great to see everybody from around. It sounds like we're in North America today. It's still a little bit earlier, a little bit late on other sides of the world, but we had registrants from all over, and we're really honored to just get to share this content with all of you. So let's go ahead and dive in. First and foremost, welcome to all of you, but welcome to Rachel, because Rachel is my Director of Communications, and she's here to share some content with you as well today. So Rachel, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I am the Director of Communications for Fearless in Training, as well as Women Talk Money, and have been, really diving into, I know that we have all heard the words, unprecedented and pivot, and, it feels like, we're hearing that all the time, but really diving into those, because these are unprecedented times, and, being able to pivot our strategy from being in person to being online has been really fun. So I am looking forward to being here and talking through some communication strategies.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this, you all, is we're a pretty open book here at our company, and so anytime we figure out things that are working for us and our team, we're just really eager to share that and help out anyone that we can. So Rachel's here to share some of the strategies we've actually been using inside our company, and also been working with our clients on. So we consult with clients and coach clients from around the globe, and we help them a lot with their marketing. So today we're going to be talking about not just the ways that we can work folks virtually, but also about some of the ongoing communication strategies that we can be using. And Rachel's going to really help out with those topics. Switching slides here. This is me. Most of you know me. I'm the founder and CEO of Fearless in Training, and I'm also the founder of Women Talk Money. And I think that, one of the things that excites me so much about this topic is because even though, we've been experiencing what is, as Rachel said, unprecedented times, really hard times, really stressful times, I feel like there's just this ongoing state of grief for all of us. I also, try my best to see silver linings. And one of the biggest silver linings I see in the current experience is this opportunities for leaders to really step up and step forward and showcase a style of communication that's really authentic and really clear and really consistent to lead their team and also lead their clients forward. And so I hope, and I think a lot about what I like to call the after, no idea when that time will be, but some point in the future where we're going to come out of this and we're all going to have new skills that are brought to light by this experience. And one of those, I think, is really going to be an enhancement in our leadership style and our communication skills. So just to give you a sense of where we're going today, I want to start by contextualizing who we are as a company, because that will give you, if you haven't done any work with us at Fearless in Training, a sense of where we're coming to the table from. So what is the perspective we're bringing to this webinar? So our company has three core components. We have community groups, which many of you are a part of. So these are our online learning programs that are both free and paid, and they're designed for ambitious entrepreneurs to connect with training and also with each other. And so this is a portion of our business that was already operational online. And so we were just amping those things up, and as things would happen, we were kind of set up to run pretty successfully already in a virtual environment. So we were eager to pass our learnings there on to all of you. We also offer coaching. So we work one-to-one with clients on different strategies, whether that's developing a business that is brand new or teaching them about leading a team. And we love working with coaching clients. And then the last piece is we do direct one-to-one consulting on marketing, branding, and business development with entrepreneurs of all sizes, from small shops all the way up to scaling technology companies. But taking all that information, all that perspective from what we do, we wanted to distill our agenda today down into 5 core sections. So first and foremost, we're going to be thinking about building relationships, because in that sense of like, we're in this unprecedented moment where leaders can step forward, what we need to be doing is not so much of selling. We're doing another session about setting up to sell online, but really that's a tactical session. And before we can sell anything to anyone, we have to have a relationship there. And so I see this current climate as a moment to really be digging in and building those relationships. And we're going to do that in a few different ways. So we're going to talk about intentional outreach as opposed to just like spray and pray kind of strategies or overwhelming people with communication. I think we've all have plenty going into our inbox on any given days. So we're going to talk to you about some ways to be a little bit more tactical in your approach by leveraging technology, by really developing a true communication strategy. And then we're going to walk away with some action items. Over here at the Fearless and Training team, we're really big on taking ideas and turning them into action. And so we want you to walk away with some clear things that you can be doing to enhance your communication with clients. So I want to start here by just taking a breath, because I get really hopped up when I do webinars and I get excited and I want to dive into all the content. But I want to always ground us in a sense of like what really matters most, or if there was one thing that you could walk away knowing from this session, what is that wisdom we want to impart on you? And the biggest thing here is this: taking a moment to remember that clients will remember how you acted in this moment. They will really, really, really remember this, because we live in a world where we've got more information than ever, total information overload. But at the same point, we're kind of in this awkward time where there's not a lot of leaders that folks feel like they can look to with a level of certainty. And I think that partially has to do with how fast information is unfolding, but also because people don't know who they can trust at this current moment. And so if you're somebody who's leaning into your client relationships and really deepening that trust, those clients will remember that you were somebody who stepped forward, communicated with them clearly, and was really here to help them during this coronavirus crisis. So I just want you to really remember that folks will remember how you acted during this time. And it's really important for us to take a moment to think about the ways in which we're communicating with people so that we're really building relationships during this moment. So let's talk about building relationships just a touch. I like to approach things in a pretty, black and white kind of way. And I think there's really, a problem that a lot of businesses are facing. And there's also a solution that can be offered. So the problem is, in the most traditional sense, business owners are not operating as per usual. Now, some of us were already set up to do things like Zoom calls with our clients, but we're not able to operate in a brick and mortar fashion for the foreseeable future. Again, we don't know when the after is going to be. Even for myself, someone who works from home pretty regularly, I've experienced a lot of changes, and I've really only started to feel them sink in. So, minor changes would be I'm coming to you live from my glamorous guest room because it's the only room where I can work that has a lock to keep my kids out. But I also don't get to do things that I would normally do with clients or with my team, like grab a cup of coffee or go to a co-working space or, even just go to the grocery store. And so that all really impacts not just the way that I'm doing business, but the way that I'm thinking and experiencing the world. Now, luckily for all of us, we live in an era of technology. And so we as business owners can get really creative and lean on new strategies and technology.
Up, if you can hear me.
Oh,
are you back?
Drop off.
Okay, they could hear me.
Okay.
You're up.
Do we know where we dropped? The joys of internet and at home.
That you are working from your guest room.
Okay. Back at it, guys. So the other thing that happens when we're when we're working virtually is that we leverage technology. And so, I was sharing that, I'm working from my guest room. There's all these changes going on. And even if I was set up to run a Zoom room before, I've got fun new things like unstable internet and the ability to do a lot of other things that are like life as usual things, like go get a cup of coffee with a client or a team member, or even go grocery shopping. It's really a weird time, and I'm not really operating and creating in the ways that I'm used to. But luckily for us, there are solutions out there, and some of this just requires us to get really creative and look to things like new strategies and technologies to figure out how can we continue to support our clients and our business in a virtual environment. So let's talk about some of those key strategies. First and foremost, there's just communicating. I think a lot of us hesitated, especially as the crisis started to unfold, to communicate with folks, because we saw kind of some folks make missteps early on where they were like communicating too much or communicating the wrong information, or they were just overwhelming us. And so we didn't really want to like join into that cacophony and just be another person making noise. But it's really important that we at least do some form of personal outreach to our clients during this time. I think a lot of us have gotten generic emails and that feels impersonal, but if we can take a moment to really reflect on our, where'd we lose me?
Clients are struggling to communicate.
Thank you. Clients are struggling to communicate. Zoom is struggling to hold a stable connection. And we've got to look for ways to really maintain some level of personal outreach to our clients. So this looks like something as simple as going through our client list and just sending a note to say, hey, I'm here for you, or maybe sharing something that we know to be personal or true about the ways that individuals might be experiencing this crisis. The other thing that we can do to really strategize during this time is getting really, really good about keeping boundaries when it comes to our schedule. So I know a lot of people who have been working double time, particularly my friends and my clients in the accounting space have been spending half a day working with clients and half a day looking at new tax legislation. And it's been really hard for them to keep healthy boundaries on their time. And so one of the best things that we can do is first start by time blocking. When are you going to be working with clients as opposed to getting other work done? And then setting up some sort of scheduling tool or functionality that you can share with clients so that they can book you when you're available, but you're not in this endless stream of answering text messages, answering notifications, taking client calls, bouncing between Zoom meetings until the point where you just pass out from exhaustion. The next thing we've got to do is figure out how we're going to connect with those clients. So it's one thing to schedule it, but it's another thing to get on those calls. And so we've got to pick some sort of platform to host virtual meetings. And then if that's something that your team or your clients are not yet comfortable or familiar with, we have to set aside time to teach our clients or team how to use it accordingly. So there was, I don't know if any of you watched the SNL that came out last weekend. It was kind of odd because all of the cast members had filmed it from their own homes. So it did feel a little dystopian in nature, but there was this hilarious skit they did, which was like a Zoom call with a bunch of people who didn't know how to use Zoom. And I won't spoil the rest of it for you, but you can watch it on YouTube. But it was definitely an indicator that that's right. Not every single person is comfortable just hopping on a video call or hopping on a screen share. And so it's really important to train team members or clients to get comfortable with that new technology. And then the last piece is just updating people. So it's one thing to do this personal outreach at the start. That's a great way to start these kind of client conversations. But we've also got to determine what are the consistent ways to keep clients updated. So this could be like implementing something you haven't done before, like a newsletter, or keeping a landing page that's like a resource guide. I've seen a lot of business owners just create a resource guide. We've created one on LinkedIn where we're just keeping all the latest in resources. So rather than having to send a bunch of communication and they get bogged down people's inboxes, they know that that's a resource they can revisit over time so that we can just continue to update one item and then share that out with our clients as we see fit. So let's keep in mind that whenever possible, the best thing that we can be doing in this moment is to be available to our clients. Again, the purpose of this moment for us as business owners is an opportunity to lean in and deepen our relationships that we have, and to even further connected relationships in the future, and to really build trust. But in order to do that, we also have to maintain healthy boundaries, because we can't serve clients well if we're also dealing with some people who aren't clients over here, and we're not time blocking, and we don't have a clear communication strategy. We're going to just run ourselves ragged. So it's really important to find this balance of being available to the clients and also maintaining healthy boundaries. The other thing I want to say here is that I know a lot of business owners who are in a moment of opportunity where this crisis has cultivated clients coming their way, but they don't feel like they have capacity to serve those people well. So my hope is that by hearing some of the strategies that we're sharing, you're going to get a little bit clearer on how to serve the clients you have, and then how you can maybe open up space to serve new clients. Now, I will say the most important thing to do first is to serve the people you have. These are the people who are already investing money in you. They've already built some level of relationship with you, and they're the most important in terms of your priority list. Now, another thing that could happen during this time is maybe a reevaluation of the clients you're here to serve, because I've heard lots of stories of business owners coming out of the woodwork and maybe abusing their relationships with the business owners they work with, or being too demanding, or asking for, can you give me this, that, and the other thing for free, or just doing all sorts of kind of crazy manic behavior from a scarcity mentality. And business owners who have healthy boundaries stepping in and saying things like, well, you haven't paid my bill in 3 months, so I don't know how you feel like you're in a position to demand, top tier service, or, I can really only focus my energy on clients that are being, proactive and cooperative and communicative. So it could be an opportunity also just to look at the clients you're serving and say, hey, who are the people I really think are worth my time in this moment? Am I really wanting to invest in to build a relationship that can take us forward, as to opposed to who are the people who are using and abusing my time. And if there are folks that are using and abusing our time, that's a good time to let those people go, so that you can create space to call in clients that are really going to be able to work with you. So that's all I've got to say on relationship building. And I want to just encourage you, as we continue to move through these next set of topics, that if you have questions come up, just throw them in the chat. We're going to take time for Q&A at the end, but I'm always happy to answer questions as we move through. So shifting a little bit here, let's talk about different styles of outreach. And in most close construct, I really want to talk about intentional outreach, because we've gotten to this point where we're getting a lot of communication from folks, and I've shared this importance of communicating with clients, but it's really important that we do this in personal ways, or in ways that feel intentional, as opposed to just being generic or making a bunch of noise. So Rachel, will you share with me just like one don't that you and we've been passing these emails back and forth, I feel like, when we see them come through our channels, or our team's been talking a lot about the don'ts, but what's one example of a don't that we've seen where we're like, this just feels icky and gross?
Oh, I think number one is not acknowledging that we are in the middle of a crisis.
Yes. Yeah. I see this one all over social media right now. Just people just continuing to post all the things that they had planned into their, social media and scheduling apps long before the crisis unfolded, or running a bunch of, buy this now, urgent things, that feel really tacky and just feel like really tone deaf. And so, the things that we're saying in terms of don'ts are, don't make a ton of noise. So I saw this in a brand strategy piece that I really liked, and we shared in our resource guide, that just said, like, rule of thumb, if you don't have anything valuable to say, don't say anything at all. So after you've done that first touch with your clients, unless you have something of value or something that's helpful to them, shut up. Like, and so that's, I mean, and it's a big part of our ethos here at the company is this here to help mentality. And so we really took a step back as a company because we had a marketing plan for the whole year. We had an email plan for the whole year. We had a social media plan for the whole year. And we went, pause, and we stepped back and we said, what is important? What is valuable? What is free, quite frankly? We opened up a lot more materials. We created new materials that were free. We asked all of our audience, what do you need? What would be most helpful for you? And then we shared just that, as opposed to just continuing on, you know, with the plan and sending people these pointless updates that they didn't even want. And that's my other favorite one, is that's like this email inbox situation, which was like, oh, great, I really wanted to know every single person I forgot I gave my email address over to the years. I really felt it was essential to know, you know, Bath and Body Works COVID-19 policy. I understand that some people feel like this is essential communications that they have to be sending out from a PR perspective, but take a moment to think about how you would want to be marketed to, or how you would want to be communicated with during this time as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and try and follow that behavior yourself when it comes to the way you're communicating with other people. But let's talk about what you should do. So I shared just now, we've got that kind of rule of thumb that comes to me by way of my friend Emily Sikorski over at Root and River. She talks all about marketing like you'd want to be marketed to, the golden rule. So again, if you don't have anything valuable to say, that's a moment to be quiet. That's a moment to really, truly listen, because then we can create. If we're listening to our people, if we're listening to our clients, we can hear and understand their stories and their experiences, and then from there, share materials or updates that are actually relevant. So our goal is to just communicate clearly when we have something valuable to say and share, and only share it with the folks that you know need it. Now, some forms of sharing, like social media, you know, that shows up in everybody's feeds and timelines. But, you know, depending on what you're feeling compelled or called to give based off of the engagement of your audience or just what your clients are offering up to you, take a moment to pause before any post and say, is this really relevant? Is this really appropriate right now? And, you know, we do a lot, you know, with different tools and technology that allow us to schedule and automate things in advance. And we've dialed that back a little bit, again, because we want to always make sure that we're still on tone and we're seeming like we're aware and relevant to the situation at hand, as opposed to, again, just continuing to post content for content's sake out into the world. I saw a couple questions come through the chat there real quick. Rachel, would you mind reading those off to me?
I think they were just some comments, but a really great one from Kelly that, you know, when those emails come in from being, you know, come from out of the woodwork, it's a great time to unsubscribe, which I could not agree more.
Yeah. There's a lot of, you know, it's funny, this time has given us a lot of space to reassess. And it's like, I'm reassessing, you know, what email list I'm subscribed to. I'm reassessing who I'm spending money with. I think we all are. There's a little bit of economic financial contraction happening. And I think in that spirit, a lot of people, as they're reassessing who they're spending money on, they're going, how are people responding or engaging with me? Do I have a real relationship with this company? Or are they giving me some sort of tone deaf communication that doesn't even acknowledge, you know, that I had or thought I had a relationship with them? I've heard this a lot from folks who do a lot of spending in the software space, like I do, where they felt like they had a relationship with a company, and then the way that the companies handled it by either, you know, doing like, you know, a weird promo or not adjusting their pricing or sending out tone deaf, you know, ongoing communication that doesn't, you know, respond to the crisis at hand, that people are like, I'm not really sure this is where I want to invest my money or my energy anymore. And so I think that's really, really important to consider, that your communication style doesn't just impact the way people see or remember what you said during this time, but it may also really impact who chooses to come back and to actually transact with you in the future. So in that sense of taking some strategies, these are some examples of things that we see folks doing, and if done properly, can really create a moment to bring those clients closer and build those relationships, as opposed to repelling people away. So one is what we're doing right now, just doing a webinar and making it free. I don't think it's a time to be selling a ton. I think it's a time to show up and be here to help people. And then if people need what you have to offer and it's going to be beneficial to them, that's when they're going to make a purchasing decision. But if you've got something that you can give away for free, we've all got innate light and wisdom and knowledge and expertise that could be helpful to other people during this time. So if we can show up and just help as many people as possible during one moment, webinars are a great way to do that. And Zoom makes it super easy. There's all sorts of other webinar platforms. Some are more stable than others, as we saw, although Zoom's been pretty good on most days for us. But webinars are a great way to help as many people as possible. And I've seen a lot of people take great strategies where, particularly if you're in a side of this crisis where you have to share what I would consider expert level knowledge. So, strategies or tax updates or what have you, a webinar is a great way to get all of those clients in one room so that they can, be able to ask questions. And a lot of those questions end up being the same. So rather than us running around like a headless chicken, answering everybody's same questions, we can answer them all at one time and educate and help a lot of people at once. In addition to that, webinars are also a great way to attract new people your way, because business owners who are struggling but leaning on you for help and advice and expertise are probably going to tell a friend who's in a similar boat. I can't tell you how many people I've had come out of the woodwork saying, hey, do you know a great new CPA? Or do you know, a financial advisor? Or do you know an insurance broker? Or do you know somebody who could help me? Because they went to their normal professional or the person they thought was here to help them and got no response or no personal communication or just a URL and a good luck. And so people are actively seeking out guidance and leadership and resources. And so people are spreading the word. They're sharing the word about other people's webinars. We've been sharing a ton, everything our community's been creating so that people can get access to those. So this can be a great way to get new people looking at what you're creating and looking to you for expertise. Now, we talked a lot about email already, but the goal with email, again, is to communicate with people valuable information at the times that it feels appropriate and personal to each person. And so just, again, make it feel personal and share with clients in those moments it feels appropriate. Now, a newsletter can be a great way to provide all your clients and prospects, it says prospectus, it should say prospects, with valuable updates. And so we do a weekly newsletter now. Rachel's been hard at work changing our newsletter strategy to just give people ongoing updates that they can engage with and select the content that feels right with them. So if that's not a rhythm you're already in with your customers, I think now is a great way to start a newsletter, or it's a good moment to. And there's so many great tools. We love MailChimp because it's really beautiful and customizable, and MailChimp is free for a number of subscribers. I think it's like up until 500. So lots of great ways to just curate a set of content that you feel is applicable to your base and can, again, update a lot of people at once, because not everybody's going to have time to sit on a webinar. That might not be their style. They might prefer to read something from you instead. And so a newsletter is going to be the way to do that. Now, on these more, upper tier sides of the screen, on the right side of the screen, these are things that I would offer only to a paying client. So we may send webinars or offer a newsletter or an email to a prospective client, but for our paying clients, we may offer extra coaching. This is us, extending social goodwill. So if you're in a position where you're coaching or offering advisory services to your clients, opening up some extra time blocks in your calendar for free to just be available to people as best you can be and offer strategies they might need. So for some of my clients, this has been an extra coaching call a month, or, I know Rachel's been running some great group sessions where it's like, hey, everybody hop on this Zoom call for an hour and we can walk through some strategies together and get feedback from each other. So there's lots of great ways we can be extending additional coaching to, again, take care of those people who are already working with us. And then the last is a paid strategy session. So again, there are some people who are willing to step up the level of commitment that they're making to work with you as a client right now. And so if somebody needs, I need an all-day strategy session, I've got to completely pivot, I've got to reshape my plan. We're seeing this with some of our consulting clients where they're like, whew, we got to redo our marketing plan for Q2, or we've got to redo, our entire strategy because our budget is shifting. This may be an opportunity for you to step forward to clients and say, okay, let's take a day or let's take a half day and really focus on strategy, which could be incredibly helpful to somebody during this time. Now, there's another thing that can be super helpful during this time that, as all of you know, I'm a wild fan of, which is technology. And I think that the thing that we have to remember is that we've got to just be really selective with what we're working with, because at the same point, again, we don't want to be just adding a million new apps and trying to implement 100 new tools and systems and trying to get our team, our clients up to speed and confusing everybody. But we can be really selective and just think about some, critical platforms or little pieces that we could implement in order to make sure that we can serve our clients virtually in really successful ways. So I'm going to walk through these category by category, and I'm going to make some general and broad suggestions about some tools that I like or that we use internally here as a company. Now, let's caveat here by saying I know that in many of these categories, there's like a million apps to choose from. And if you have an app that you would say you prefer, as opposed to the ones that I'm listing, please put those in the chat panel because everybody can see them. And I think it's really great to share with everybody, about what tools and technologies are really working for us, because we're here as a community. So whatever you're using, make sure to chime in the chat if you've got other ones to offer up. First category here is kind of a no-brainer, but we've got to have some sort of platform to do virtual meetings. And if I'm going to put a hard line in the sand, I'm going to just say, just whatever you use, please don't let it be Skype. I'm kind of a jerk when it comes to technology. I'm a total tech snuff, but please don't let it be Skype. Skype is probably the worst and most unstable and glitchiest platforms. My therapist has been using it. I love her, but it was like literally the lag time. She would be talking and you'd hear her voice, and then like a minute later her lips would move on the screen, and it was just hard to focus, and it was trouble. And I heard somebody say here, boo to Skype in the chat. So luckily I've got some agreement. We find Zoom to be the most recommended platform. I will say it hasn't been perfect. I think they've totally been over bandwidth. Like there's just too many people on all of these platforms, but I've heard from all of the folks that I talk to that it's been the most stable of platforms, and it's also really cost effective. A basic Zoom subscription is $15 a month, and I think we pay $60 because we have a webinars version. And so for the amount of time we spend on Zoom, I find it to be super affordable. Now, other options out there, just to be fair in this space, there's GoToMeeting, WebEx, BlueJeans, as some other options. You can, search best virtual video conferencing, and there's 1,000,001 articles you can find now on Google because everyone's scrambling to find solutions. Other folks have offered that Zoom is also providing free classes on how to use it right now. So if you're somebody who needs to get up to speed on Zoom, check that out. There's also a lot of features and functionalities that people don't realize that Zoom has that makes it more secure. You can also do fun things that allow you to have like a virtual background if you're, as one client I had this week, he's working out of his garage, and so he's like put a beautiful virtual painting behind him so you can't see the mess of his garage. Wendy also offered up that Google Hangouts is a great solution, and that one's free. If you've got a Google account or Google for Business, that's free. So great suggestion there, Wendy. But my recommendation always with any technology is try it out for free. Everybody should offer you a trial. Zoom does like a trial version that allows you for up to 40-minute meetings, and it's a little bit annoying just because it'll cut it off after 40 minutes, but every great app should offer you a free subscription for at least 7 to 14 days so that you can try it out to make sure it doesn't just work for you, but also so that it works for you and your team and your clients. Now, we talked about the importance of also scheduling. time blocking, time management is really critical right now. We've got, scope creep happening left, right, and center. And so it's really, really important that we make the most of our time and stop wasting it on the scheduling game. I hate those emails that go back and forth. They're like, are you free on Wednesday? No. Are you free on Tuesday? Nope. Are you free on Friday? That is just not where our time should be spent right now. And so it's a really great time to implement a virtual scheduling tool. Now, my favorite, the one that we use here at Fearless in Training, is Calendly. I just like it because it natively integrates with Zoom and Gmail, and so it's really easy for people to schedule and automatically get sent a link for their calendar that also goes to my calendar, and it also contains a Zoom meeting link. So it's really, really great and seamless. I think we paid for the annual subscription, it was like $200, but there's, I think monthly, it's about $10. Other options are Acuity or Booker. And then also if you have a website, so if you have like a website through Wix or Squarespace or one of these other website building platforms, a lot of them have built in free or maybe just a tiny bit more expensive, but like under $5, native scheduling tools that are designed to integrate in your website. So if you're somebody who's got a lot of new prospects coming your way and you offer an initial consultation, like a 15-minute meeting or something like that, that can be a great way to just do like a book a meeting button on your website, as well as have a link that you can share with people via email. So definitely, definitely, definitely recommend taking some time right now, if you haven't already, to just implement a scheduling tool. And again, if you've got one that I didn't mention that's your favorite, please put it in the chat. Now, other helpful categories of tools to consider are all of these. And some of them I'm mentioning specifically by name because they are my absolute favorite. And again, I know there's other tools out there, and others are just more general categories that I think have become super critical during this moment. Because again, we're working virtually, which means we're working with clients virtually, which means we have to be able to collaborate in new and unique ways. So one of my favorite tools in the whole entire world, which is free and then very cheap if you do subscribe for it, is a tool called Yet Another Mail Merge. Yet Another Mail Merge is an add-on for Google Sheets. And what it does is allows you to create a spreadsheet with a bunch of people's first names and their email addresses. Now, what this allows you to do is create a draft inside your email that allows you to just type out what feels like a really, really personal message to people. So say this is, 10 people that you want to send an article to because you know them all and it feels relevant and valuable, but it's not enough people to really justify sending out a newsletter or using a tool like MailChimp. Yet Another Mail Merge is a great tool to do this and to make those personal connections, but also be able to do a little bit of tracking on the back end. So once you've sent an email out, you'll be able to see who opened it and see who responds to it. Obviously, you'll see those responses in your inbox as well. But it's just a great way if you need to fire off the same email to about 5 or 10 different people to be able to do that in one fell swoop, because it just basically replaces the first name on every email. So this is a little under the hood. This is a tip and trick that I recommend to all of our clients. So I just want to share it to all of you, because at the same point, we want to be blocking our time. We also don't want to spend 100 hours in our email, sending the same people the same thing if we're updating just with quick little notes or resources. Now, if we are updating a lot of people, my favorite tool, as I mentioned before, for that is MailChimp. We use MailChimp for our newsletters as well as all of our one-to-many communications. It's an email marketing tool that also allows you to do things like build landing pages or build a series of automated campaigns. And we use it a lot inside of our company. I've been using it for a number of years. And again, it's free to try out. There's obviously a lot of other tools in this category: Constant Contact, Emma. There's all sorts of email marketing platforms. And again, I'm starting to see like Squarespace has built in an email marketing component that you can upgrade to use. So there's lots of different ways to send a lot of emails to a lot of people, or newsletters to people. But I think the most important thing here is just look and feel and making sure that you have good data, because again, we're all getting a lot of communication. And if we're opening up a newsletter or it's not even making its way into our inbox, like it's sitting in spam or something like that, because it wasn't delivered by a tool that was really properly structured to deliver a beautiful and engaging looking piece of content or a newsletter, that's a waste of our time. So using a tool like MailChimp is really valuable to make sure that not only is this content impactful, but it also looks and feels like something that people want to engage with rather than just unsubscribe from. Now, I've also wanted to mention in terms of interaction, Slack is a really important tool, or any sort of internal chat. Now, I believe there's all sorts of school of thought when it comes to whether or not we allow clients to have this level of access of communication with us. I know a lot of people don't like to text clients or don't like to be on a chat tool with clients, but we do Slack both for our team internally as well as with a few select clients. Those are our most engaged clients, and they're typically folks who are already on the go. I was talking to a firm just yesterday about this, and she shared the same thing. She said, you know, for my clients who are already on the go and are already used to using Slack, I'm happy to share a Slack channel with them. Now, Slack doesn't work for everybody. It's a tool that some folks aren't used to, but it's great for quick updates or, you know, checking in progress with the team, or even just creating a little bit of company culture where we can share gifts or hang out around the virtual water cooler, so to speak, together. So it's a great way to just keep our team up to speed. And it also minimizes the amount of emails we're sending back and forth. So this might be more of an internal tool for you, but maybe you choose to use it externally with clients if they want this level of communication. Now, cloud storage, this is just a critical must-have. Many of us probably had some way, shape, or form because a lot of cloud storage is now native. So we've got, you know, our Google Drive that comes with our Google Drive account, or we've got, you know, our Microsoft Office suite that includes a cloud storage component. But cloud storage is super critical right now because, again, we can't hand off files to each other, you know, in person. And then on top of that, you know, we also want some level of security. And so it's a bit more secure to share a file from a cloud storage component that's going to allow us to be able to track and see who opened it, when did they open it, did they modify that document and make a mistake or error, can we reverse and revise that, as opposed to just sending and sharing docs that are unsecure. So if you don't already have some sort of cloud storage component in place, I think this just makes a lot easier to work collaboratively with clients. Our favorite, the one we use internally, is Google. I just grew up on the Google suite of tools. And so we use Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, all of the Google things to not only store our docs, but collaborate back and forth. And I was forced by the team to get a little more organized. I'm like the queen of hoarding things in my personal drive. So I took time over the past 2 weeks to make sure my team has all of the docs they need in our shared Google Drive so that we can really work effectively and efficiently back and forth with each other and with our clients. The next tool I want to mention is Loom. And if you don't know about Loom, it's a tool that's just designed to be able to record your screen as well as record your face. So it's kind of like Zoom in a sense, but it's usually done as like a just you to the camera situation as opposed to you to a client or you to the audience. But the way we love to use Zoom is to just really quickly capture some information to share with somebody. So for example, if I've got a client who's asking a question and I can answer it by recording a 1-minute Zoom video that walks them through a screen share and shows them how to set up a tool or app or where to find a piece of information that they can then follow along on their own screen when they have time to open that video. That saves a lot of time as opposed to me having to type out all the steps via email and have them get confused and maybe not understand the information and just have to end up on a call with them anyways. So we use the free version of Loom. It's got a ton of storage capacity, and similar to what somebody shared about Zoom, they're actually offering a bunch of free accounts and free storage to people who really need to use a tool like this during this time. I loved they did a whole campaign about making what they do free for teachers, so teachers could teach math or record all these different videos to share with students, which I loved. So I love that demonstration of their values in action. So this is a really important tool just to save time for quick and easy communication things. We also use it internally to train our team. So anytime I'm doing a training that I want to share with somebody after the fact, I'll just record a quick Loom video. And I love that it has the camera so that it still feels personal and not just kind of like me throwing information at people. And then the very last piece of technology we've got to consider here is some type of project management, because, you know, we're all going to be working on something virtually. We're going to need ways to track tasks. We're going to need ways to see who's working on what and how long it's taking them or when it's due. And so we've got to be considering project management. everybody has their own favorites in this category, so feel free to chime in with yours. It really varies on depending on the type of business you are too. I know a lot of folks who are in like the digital marketing world or are running an agency or things like that who love Asana or Trello. We are personally obsessed with Airtable because it's basically like Google Sheets on steroids, and we're really comfortable, like I said, in that Google environment. Other people love more specific tools that are designed for their business. So I know a lot of folks in the accounting world that love tools like Carbon or Pixie. So lots of different project management solutions out there, but I just don't think it's enough when you're doing the amount of work we are virtually to be tracking things in like a spreadsheet or a Google Doc. And so if there is a tool or solution that you would recommend to folks, add it to the chat. And Rachel, this is where I'm going to hand it off to you. And Cindy asked us, what is the project management system we use? And you can tell them all about your love of it too, because Rachel just redesigned our project management system, and it's pretty epic what she's been able to do with it.
Yeah, no, Airtable is such a fantastic tool because it really allows you to manipulate essentially Excel spreadsheets and really manipulate them in a way that you only see the information that you need, and then you can also collaborate with teams. So for instance, with our communications team, we have lots of articles and information that's going out to each of you, and we need to make sure we know where they are in the process of writing an article or researching it, and so we have different tabs that we can use so that everybody can just see exactly where everyone is in the process of working on the information. So,
yeah, and Rachel set it up even in a great way, which I didn't know how to do until she showed me, which was that you can even distill it down to your individual view. So we can create an Airtable that contains all this information. And then we can also filter it down to like, this is my view. So I can see the work that I need to be getting done and the deadlines that I have going on. So it's a really, really fun and flexible tool. And just know after this session, we're going to send you all recordings. We're going to send you links to all of the tools that we mentioned. So keep an eye out for that after the fact, but you can also, of course, take notes as we're talking. So switching gears, take us away, Miss Rachel.
Yeah. So first of all, who feels like they are communicating well with their clients right now? I know that we have the raise the hand feature.
God, I'm trying to. Epic fail. We are. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Everybody's doing their best. Cindy raised her hand.
Amazing. Great. Okay. So, during these unprecedented times, it's incredibly important to be in touch with your clients. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to walk you through a few strategies that will help you with your clients really during this crisis, but also just to build deeper relationships with them and stand out as a trusted advisor. Now, just for the sake of time and for this, when I say communication, I am lumping everything together, and this can range from one-to-one communication all the way to mass communication. And we've talked about several different ways that you can communicate, whether that's Zoom calls or emails, newsletters, phone calls, and you can even go old school and write a little personal thank you note or handwritten note.
I got a thank you note, handwritten thank you note with a gift basket, and it was like, well, it was the best thing in the world because it was a goodie basket filled with cookies, and we had just done our last stock up, and we had not bought sugar for some reason, and I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Yes, yeah, it goes a long way with clients. Okay, next slide. But regardless of the channel that you're using, there's three main components that are really, really important in client communication. So one is humanizing your communication, being empathetic and compassionate, as well as making sure that they can read it, being timely and consistent, and adding value. All right, next slide. One thing to remember, and I know that we all know this deep down, but in times of crisis, it can affect people in all different ways. But by understanding that we're all fighting different battles, different battles, and you're going to create a stronger and more loyal relationship with your clients by being compassionate and empathetic to where they are right now. A simple hi, how are you doing goes a really long way. All right, next slide. So for the sake of time, I am going to assume that if you are on a phone call with a client, then you do know how to be compassionate. And I'm going to skip actually right to some email strategy, because it seems like when you send mass communication, that's really where the wheels fall off the bus. So when it comes to mass communication, there's a few things that you can do. So the first one is, which is something that probably the number one thing that I see in communication when you're sending an email out to a lot of people, is it feels like it's going out to a lot of people. So write to just one person. Even if this email is going out to hundreds of people, make your clients feel like it is coming directly from your inbox into their inbox. Your clients are paying you a lot of money and they want to feel special. So this is really simple, but hi, Madeline, I'm writing to you today because I'm guessing you're feeling the impact of the crisis and I want to support you. That is the first line of a mass communication, and saying, maybe, I have some articles that I thought you might like, or, providing whatever value you can. So we're going to skip to the next one, because another thing that humans do is use each other's first names. So a lot of the email software, almost all the email software, offers the option to auto-populate a first name. Do this. This is a great way to personalize a non-personal email. And while I'm talking about first names, it's important that your email is scannable. I don't think I have anyone except for my mom that reads my emails all the way through every single line. And bless her, but really making sure that your emails can be scanned, because the top 3 places that people look when they first, if they just open an email, they look to see if you used their name. They want to make sure that it's spelled right. And then they scan down to see who it's from, and then the PS. And that postscript is actually super important, but it's a great place to sum up exactly what you want your client to do, or the action that you want them to take, or the link that you want them to click on. So don't forget that PS. It's a great way to really call to action exactly what you're asking them to do. Number 4, so lose the jargon. In every industry, there is jargon thrown around and it's really great for insiders. You're basically talking in a different language, but it's likely that your client is not an insider. And the last thing that you want to do is have your client not understand what you're trying to say, or worse, have them feel left out. So a little pro tip, on mass emails, I actually envision my sweet grandma Peggy, and this reminds me to leave out the jargon, to be very simple in my message, and so just try to envision who that person might be, because it will really help you drill down exactly what you want to say and simplify that message. The last thing is on style. So style does matter. It's, you want to make sure that your clients can actually read your emails. So an easy to read, usually a sans serif font that is size 14 or larger. It's also important that it's left aligned. Headings are fine if they are centered, but we do read left to right. So by aligning it from the left, the readability is much easier. And adding spaces between the paragraphs. Now, and I know that this is like really, really in the weeds, but this type of thing will improve the relationship with your clients because they feel like you understand them. But adding those spaces between the paragraphs, it improves the readability. And just remember, if Grandma Peggy can't read it, then you are in trouble. So all right. Okay, the frequency of your communication is important. I heard, if your client is looking for an answer, you don't want to be the fifth place that they go to look for this answer. You want to make sure that you are the first. So what does this look like? As long as you are doing the things that I've mentioned above, communicating more. Communicating is always better when more communication is always better when people are already feeling on edge, or they're working more with a fear-based mindset, which is where a lot of people are right now. And you're their advisor, so make sure that they are coming to you for that guidance. All right, so I do encourage you to have some sort of touch point of communication at least once a week. As we've mentioned, you want to make sure that it's valuable, but by being consistent, you're building trust with your clients. So think of this like depositing into a bank account. So every time you show up in their inbox, they know that every Thursday they're going to be getting a newsletter from you. Then you are essentially depositing into the bank account. So then when you need to send an invoice or have maybe an uncomfortable conversation, then you're withdrawing that money, withdrawing from that bank account, from a bank account that already has money in it, instead of overdrafting. So you're building up that trust. And I see here from Nicole that is there a certain day, time each week that you recommend? So yes and no. The answer here,
test it out.
Yeah, you really need to test to see where your clients are. I would say, business hours from Tuesday to Thursday are probably your best bet. 3 months ago. My answer right now, I really think that email is a crapshoot because, and I wish that I had better information, but we are testing a lot of different times right now because, parents are working super early in the morning, and then they're working, a little bit in the afternoon, and they're working weekends. So Nicole, I don't have a great answer for you. You really just need to test and see
And think about
what
your
makes sense
humans.
with your clients.
Sorry to interrupt, Rachel. I was
No,
going
you're
to say, think about your humans too. Like what we do, we talk to our team. So we've got team members of all different walks of life. We've got some who are moms, some who are not. We've got team members who are young. We've got team members who are well into their 30s. And we've got a range of clients too. So we talk to our clients, we think about our clients, and we say, what does their days look like? When would be the best time that they would be most, receptive to this message we're wanting to share with them? And we're not just thinking about what the message is itself, but we're also thinking about, is there a point in the day? So for example, with social media, for me, like I can only consume that content right now first thing in the morning, or like between 9 and 10 at night. And so I'm posting just whenever I'm on there, because those are the only times that I'm really available to even consume it and react and respond to people. So just some thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely encourage you to test it and see where your audience is at. And and then let us know. So the next piece to this is to be timely. We talked about this right off the top. We're in the middle of a crisis, and you have to mention it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge that these are stressful times, and the last thing you want to do is come off as tone deaf, especially in a time when people are at their most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the last one. When in doubt, provide value. During these times of crisis, people are are looking to those who are in leadership positions. And if you're not getting in front of them, they're going to go to someone else. And the question about whether or not I sell, how I sell, how much I give for free content is absolutely a great way to, you can think about it as an opportunity to warm up some potential clients. But depending on what you have to offer, selling is not out of the question. However, make sure what you're selling is meeting your clients or meeting potential clients where they're at. I heard this great example of a travel agent, and clearly I actually didn't know that travel agents were still around, but she's clearly not booking, extravagant vacations for people. And so she's been creating these really great day trips that include social distancing, and mostly were for free. So, how can you shift that? But just making sure that you're meeting your clients where they're at is important.
I love that. My favorite example, I shared it on LinkedIn at one point, was my oldest and best friend is a hairdresser. And so they, have been shut down for weeks and weeks. So they can't serve clients, and all of their clients started writing them like, please, can I just come in? Because they were freaking out about their grays, coming in and their hair dyed, people seeing their real hair color. But they're known for being these really high-end colorists, and so they write down everybody's formula. And so they started offering a service where you could come to their website and fill out a form and let them know who you were. And then they would send you an at-home coloring kit with everything you would need, and still their really high-end dyes and an instruction piece packet they put together for $50. They would send it to your doorstep, and it wouldn't be, crappy box dye that might harm your hair. It was your exact color formula. So that was an example of, again, what do people need right now? What can we offer? And just kind of shifting the strategy to provide that value.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've just given you a ton of information to work with here. And if you were furiously writing notes, then I want you to just take a moment to circle one thing. Just one thing that you can implement right now. What I don't want to happen is I don't want you to try to go and overhaul all of the communication that you are sending and get overwhelmed and not do anything. So it's really important to remember. If you're multitasking, come back to me. If you want to build deeper relationships with your clients, then they need to trust you. And you can do that by being compassionate, being consistent, and being a leader. And that all starts with communication. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for those tidbits. And thank you for being a leader in our company and stepping up to share that insight. We just want to wrap you up with action items, and we're right at the top of the hour, but we will leave time for any additional questions. And we get that some people will have to scoot, so we totally honor that, but know that we'll be delivering this recording to your inbox so you can revisit it over time. We're also going to add it to our member portals for everybody who's part of our learning labs and our other membership communities. So if you aren't already and you want to explore those, check them out, but everybody will get a copy of this webinar. So here's our plan of action for you. It starts with just get a solid virtual meeting platform. People want to see your face. We miss human connection. That's why we've got our cameras on today, is just so you can see and feel how much we want to be here for you guys during this time. So do the same things for your clients by setting yourself up with some sort of virtual meeting platform. Next, remember, we don't have time to waste time right now. So if you can, take a little bit of time to set up some way to have an online schedule that makes it easy for people to book time when you're available, and for you to block out time to step back, to get other work done, to take a breather, to take a nap, whatever you need. Just implement some time blocking and scheduling tools to simplify that and save time. From there, you got to come up with some level of a communication strategy. Rachel shared so much important information with you about the ways that you can shape that strategy. But again, just go back to thinking about, how can I be timely and consistent? How can I be demonstrating value? How can I make it personal and human? Those are all so important. So think about those ideas that we offered today to just determine a strategy. Maybe it's as simple as, I'm going to send an email right now or this week to every single one of my clients that feels personal, and then I'm going to send a newsletter to keep them updated every week going forward. It doesn't have to be crazy complicated. But I will say this is that we want you to reach out and support those existing clients first. Acknowledge the relationships you have, because the last thing we want to see is you lose clients right now because you're taking the wrong action and communicating with people who don't even have relationships with you already. So focus on the humans you have first. And then last but not least, just remember this: market like you want to be marketed to. Share what is actually valuable. So share information when it's relevant and valuable to somebody, and then try and refrain from over communicating and just making noise that seems unnecessary. So that is everything we have to offer you today when it comes to communicating and connecting with clients virtually. I just want to know if anybody else has additional questions for all of us. Rachel and I are happy to stay here for a few more minutes to answer anything that we didn't cover that you're dying to know, or, if you've tried something and it didn't work for you, please, please, please put those in the chat panel now. And then also here on the screen, these are just the ways that you can connect with us. So this is our team inbox. You've got me on social media. Rachel, what's your social? I forgot to put it in here. Is it at Rachel Bearbower? Is it that simple?
What's
your Twitter?
Rachel Bearbower.
Yeah, simple. Her name. So if you come up with a question after the fact, and you wake up at 2 a.m, or you're like typing out that email and you're like, does it sound right? Does it sound human? We're always happy to and here to help and talk with you all. So these are the ways to find us. And then please, our one ask to all of you is that if this session was super helpful to you and gave you some insight, we're doing a series. We've got another free webinar next week and one the week following. So check those out, spread the word. You can check out some of our programs on the website, but it's really an honor to be here with all of you. Somebody said that they were hoping that Charlie would make an appearance, my puppy. I'm sorry, she's napping. But I promise I will post more videos on social media. And thank you, Stephanie, for the congratulations. I'm not the only one with a new puppy. Rachel and I are both losing sleep for all sorts of reasons now.
Mine has entered the teenage phase, so I have been holding my breath this whole webinar, hoping that he's...
You didn't make those eyeballs that you make when you realize he's about to pee on the floor. So, so it's great. Stephanie shared that Stephanie's got a dog rescue. So if any of you need a puppy right now, if you're seeing our social shares and you're like, I need a puppy to keep me company as I work from home, let me know. I know a wonderful woman who can get you an amazing rescue puppy.
Yes.
Well, I haven't seen any other questions come in, but I want to just to remind you all, we're here to keep the conversation going. We'd love to see you on your next session, and we are thinking about all of you. So if there's anything that we can do, or our philosophy is always about being here to help. So if there's anything we can do to help you move your business forward and keep up consistent communication during this time, just reach out to us and the team. So thank you all. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we will see you next week on our session. It's all about selling online. And so if you're still somebody who's feeling nervous or anxious about selling during this time, we're going to be talking about not just online e-commerce operations, but we're also going to be talking about, building out your website so you can transact easily on an online environment, and talking about how service-based business owners can be selling during this time. So if you know anyone that would be helpful to, join us for that session next week. I'll make sure you have an email with a link to that. And thank you all. Have an amazing rest of your day.